Welcome to today's live event. We're using Microsoft Teams live event, and I want people to be aware that this will be recorded, and should you enter information into the chat, your information may be viewable by other participants. So please be aware of that, and if you're not comfortable with that, then obviously feel free to watch the recording later. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Devine. I am the Global Business Strategy Leader for Libraries and Museums at Microsoft. Hopefully, if you've attended other things in this series, you already know me. I'm based in Seattle, Washington, and I'm really delighted today to actually bring a really great solution in this space for libraries and museums. We have Wakelet. And if you're not familiar with Wakelet already, I can just say that from personal experience, I'm a big fan. And I'm certainly using this personally and professionally, let alone if I was in a library or museum. Wakelet is a Microsoft partner and have been doing lots of work in the larger education space with Microsoft. In case you're not aware, libraries and museums is a fairly new vertical within Microsoft Education. And so we connected with Wakelet and found out what the great things that they're doing in libraries and museums. And so today we have two special guests. We have Teijas KY, who is in Manchester in the UK, who is works for Wakelet. And then we have a special guest, Deb Zeman. Deb is a school librarian in Texas who's also going to walk us through Wakelet for libraries. And we also have some great examples for museums as well. So we're going to, I'm going to introduce Teijas shortly. We're going to come back for Q&A at the end. Please enter your questions into the chat. And I hope you really love this solution. I certainly do. It has a gorgeous user interface and it just works. And I think that sometimes that is what you need in a solution. I mean, sorry, it's not the only thing, but it goes a long way. So with that, let me introduce you to Teijas KY from Wakelet.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Catherine. Again, a big thank you for having us on here, and thank you to Deb, who's a community and ambassador member who's joined us as well. We've got some really exciting stuff for you today, and we can't wait to see how all of you find use in Wakelet, and especially in the context of using it for your libraries or perhaps even your museums, it could be a really, really interesting value add. So let me go ahead and actually start sharing my screen so I can take you through the basic concepts of Wakelet really quick. So hopefully everyone should be able to see my screen now. So like Catherine was saying, Wakelet's sort of a content curation platform. So in a sense, what we really allow you to do is we allow you to save, organize, and share content from across the web. So this could sort of be explained really simply in 3 steps. So we sort of start off with allowing you to bookmark or save anything from the web. So whether that be an article, a web link, so literally anything with a link. So that could be a video, tweet, a YouTube video. So we allow you to do 2 things at this point of time. We sort of let you either save it to a bookmarking area, or we allow you to save it into a collection. Collection is essentially an area on the website where we allow you to house content and sort of go about restructuring and curating it. So this is really where the second step comes in, where we allow you to curate and present your content in a really visual and aesthetic way. So essentially, once you finish bookmarking your content, or perhaps even saving it into a collection, you can then add images, text, and a whole bunch of organic content that perhaps you've made to add more context to that particular collection that you've made. And we've got some great examples coming up. Deb's going to take you through an amazing Wakelet collection shortly after I take you through this concept. So just hold tight. You've got some really nice content coming into you from a Wakelet collection. And finally, once you sort of create a Wakelet collection and have it ready with all of your content, and you've made sense of it, reorganized it in a collection, we also allow you to collaborate. So here at Wakelet, collaboration's a really important element of everything we do. We really want to allow you, the educator, the user, regardless of where you are, the ability to collaborate with your PLN or even your students. So we've got a bunch of amazing collaborative features on the website that will really sort of help you extend yourself to, perhaps, like I said, your PLN or your students, where you can, in a group setting, sort of add links into a collection and make sense of it. And once you've finished this collaborative collection, or perhaps you've gone about creating a collection just by yourself, you can share it to a bunch of platforms. Like Catherine said, we've got a long existing relationship with Microsoft. We've actually got a Teams integration. We've got a OneNote integration. We've also got the immersive reader on Wakelet. So essentially, you can share your Wakelet collection into OneNote. We've got the Wakelet app in Teams, as I mentioned. So you can actually open up a collection as a team tab inside of Microsoft Teams, which is great, and I'd highly recommend you check it out. And so this is essentially all of the apps that we allow for Wakelet to plug into. As you can see, there's a bunch of Microsoft apps that we've integrated with. You can actually pull OneDrive links straight from inside of Wakelet. You can share your Wakelet to Microsoft Sway as well. And we've also been working with the Edge team quite closely behind the scenes, to hopefully get something really exciting to you very soon. And these are sort of the core features that are available on wakelet.com that almost, advance the usability of the platform into multiple spectrums. So as I mentioned, we sort of start off with collaboration being a really, really important element of the platform. You being able to collaborate with your PLN or your students or perhaps even your peers. We allow you to copy collections. So essentially it makes sharing of information on the platform more seamless, and the extension of knowledge to people perhaps that you don't know, and building on top of collections a lot more seamless. We've got the immersive reader, as I mentioned, which really focuses on accessibility. It's something that we've really focused on, and with the help of Microsoft EDU, we've been able to sort of provide that added functionality on the platform. We also allow you to embed your collections on websites, or perhaps even your LMS systems. I think a lot of librarians possibly could find use in that as well. So this is just a brief overview of how teachers use Wakelet. So there's a bunch of user cases that we cater for within education. So classroom newsletters, interactive lessons, documenting your professional development. A lot of these Deb will cover in context of the library's environment as well. So please do hold tight. And this is specifically how librarians and tech coaches use Wakelet. So you can again see there's a few carryovers. There's digital libraries, resources for parents, resource hubs, newsletters. There's a bunch of really creative ways in which librarians have used Wakelet to sort of value add to their existing comms, to their students, or perhaps even just sort of adding a layer to their own personal profile, which Deb will take you through. Some really exciting stuff. I should also mention over here, for all of you who've come in from the museums context, there's a bunch of functionality that we allow for museums as well. After I pass on to Deb, I'll probably share a few links in the chat, which is essentially of the blog that Catherine had already written on how Wakelet can be used for museums, and that'll perhaps provide a lot more context for all of you. And this is just a very simple run through of Wakelet in the classroom, and it has direct correlations to how you can use it in the library context. So student assignments, lesson planning, classroom newsletters. I'm going to let this leave this to the pro. Deb's going to take you through all of this in advance. And we've also got a great community and student ambassador program. Again, Deb's going to take you through how she actually interacts with these as a librarian. We've actually got a bunch of programs that we use to support teachers, librarians, but also students. We see this as a great sort of value add to the education community, and us trying to support all of you, and all of you also in some context finding value from these communities that we create. We've got a mobile app, so everything that Deb talks you through can also be used on the iOS and Android. predominantly we are a desktop application, and obviously we're a website, so you can use wakelet.com, but just for context, we've also got mobile available. And we've got a great browser extension. So this is sort of just going to make all of the bookmarking a lot more easier and seamless. So just to keep in mind whilst you're, sort of looking at how Deb's going to take you through the platform and showcase Wakelet to you. So now, without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Deb. I'm really excited to see what she has to show all of you, and no, I'm sure all of you are going to enjoy it.
Good morning. Thank you all for joining us. I'm going to share a Wakelet collection, which Teijas will share in the chat. I will continue to update it because there's a lot of stuff, since we're on limited time, that I didn't include, but I wanted to give you some basics. So this is my collection that I did for Wakelet in the library. As you can see, I've got my little header, which I, again, app smash, created in Buncee. I've also created my business card in Buncee and was able to embed it within my Wakelet. You can follow me on Twitter. I follow every librarian I can imagine in the world, and Ed Coach. I've included a Wakelet for Beginners video that I had done for another training that will help get you started. But now I'm going to show you a couple of different things that I have done as a librarian. The first one I've done is a social justice unit. A teacher wanted to have ideas for kids for some books, and hopefully this will open as I click. This was a collection that was embedded into this collection. That's what's wonderful about Wakelet. You can embed collection within collection within collection, and I apologize for being so slow. So what I did was I curated a bunch of information about titles that the teacher wanted the students to choose from. Some we had already in the library, some we had available for the kids to purchase, and I included YouTube videos, articles, interviews, over each title. And as you'll notice here, each one header. And what I did was I used another website to create these GIFs, and I was able to embed them in. And you'll notice how I was able to match them up to each of the titles. So that's one example I've done. Another one, I just curated this this week actually for AP3 language. They are doing a unit on argument, prepping the students for the AP exam, and they needed some titles that they weren't familiar with and titles that they already had, so they provided their list, and I curated a whole bunch of different resources that the kids could take a look to get an idea of what they would like to read. And you'll notice the layout is a little different. It makes it a little more pleasing. This is actually the mood board layout, which is wonderful for videos of book trailers, of audio clips, of author interviews, and students can just go straight through and they can watch them. And the thing that I absolutely love the best is when the student clicks on it, it opens right in Wakelet and plays. They do not have to leave the Wakelet platform to view. And then they can just go back to the collection to find the information. The next is an example that fellow librarian Christina Holzweiss created, digital reading journals, where she gives you the directions, and this is free to copy for any librarian, any educator, and it gives all different ideas of student voice and choice, ways that kids can present other than just the typical, give me a book summary and tell me what you thought. So what she's done is she's curated and given all the directions, and it tells you exactly how to do it, and then all the different things that kids can use to create their reading logs. And she gives all kinds of ideas, and again, all the app smashes within here. She even threw in some writing prompts that you could use with the students. And that's just one example of a lesson plan that she has done. School library newsletters, or just a newsletter for your public library. I created this for my former school. And yes, that is a GIF. You can go to giphy.com, and I know that down the road, Wakelet will have its own library of GIFs, and you can add it in to add a bit of splash to your collection. And what I do is, this is how I promoted the library. I was able to, you can post it in Google Classroom, you can post it on websites, you can post it in Schoology, you can post it in Teams. And it just is another way to promote what's going on in the library and just information you want to share. And the thing that I really like, again, is that integrated immersive reader. So if you had a whole bunch of stuff that you wanted to share and you had a student that was a other language, they could go in and they can choose the immersive reader and choose the language to read in. And these are just some examples of things that I did in the library. I did 12 days of digital breakout for the kids, which some of the breakouts were actually created in Wakelet. And then we had a tree contest, and I included all that. And then I advertised, look, this is what we did in the library today, and these are breakouts that the kids had done. Gets the kids interested, where you can do a maker space and have mini breakouts. I also promoted books. These were from the Teijas reading list, which is I'm a member of the committee, and I'll advertise. We'll get student book of the month club. I recommend as faculty, and this is another way too, that if you're a school librarian or in a public library, you can get fellow educators or librarians to post their recommendations, which will help with your circulation. And then I also threw in video book trailers from YouTube that the kids can watch. And now this is another Wakelet within the Wakelet, which was the 6-word story book recommendations, which I believe I actually created in Bunsey. And then just special events, tips, what's happening in the library. It's another great way to get your school community, all your people that are involved in the library. And then we've included the School Library Media Center newsletter template, which again was created by Christina. And if you click on it, you have the ability, which is wonderful, to copy it and make it your own. Now, being a librarian, I'm always about the copyright. Oh, I'm sorry, I lost the window. Where did it go? My presentation disappeared again. I apologize. Oh. There it is. Sorry. So here's the template, and you can make a copy. And the thing that's wonderful is when you make that copy, it will give credit back to Christina. So if 14,000 librarians make copies of copies of copies, credit will always go back to her. And you're welcome to use that. Now I've moved on to projects. I was a former English teacher, and this is a project that I created and then passed along to my fellow English teachers. But then I wanted to have a place where I could have all the information for the kids, and I consider it a one-stop shop. And so I've included this one. They studied Great Gatsby, and to get them going with the project, I created this Wakelet that gives them all the directions, but it also gives them all of the resources, because we all know how kids like to go out and research and try to take stuff that is not necessarily reliable. So I've listed everything that they would need. And then I listed all of the different topics throughout. And then again, another Wakelet collection embedded within. These are all reliable resources that I vetted that the kids can use to create their projects. And again, I apologize for the delay. It takes a minute. So now they have all the resources, and again, you'll see the change in the layout. It's all the mood board. And they can go through, and depending on what their topic is, they can find the information. And the thing that's really wonderful is, as time goes by and new information is found, I can curate it and I can edit it and add it in, and then the kids will automatically see these updates. Or if I needed to go back in and change it and take something out that a link no longer works, I can just automatically edit it and take it right out, and it goes away, and it's just a nice live real-time update. So that was research. And then this is one, and now this is where collaboration is truly going to come into play. This is a sports medicine. This is for student athletic trainers. I collaborated with the athletic director who oversees them. And what we've done is we've created the entire project. And what has happened is too, now that Wakelet has what's called spaces, I can take all of this information, put it into a space, and the kids are able to collaborate within it. So they've got their project, they have everything. And then what I did for each one is I created a collection and then made it copyable. And then the students are able to have the template of all the information that they need. And then on the opposite side, if you have students that are under 13, when you want to have them collaborate, you would invite them. I'll show you right here. They do not have to use their email. You would give them the copy code. And then once they get the copy code, they can join a collection, and then they can add a collection within that collection, which we can jump back and I can show you. So those are just two research topics. Digital portfolios and Wakelet are an absolute game changer. These go along with the Wakelet Student Ambassador Program. What I've done for myself is created a space within Wakelet that is my digital portfolio that I can share out when people are interested in finding out information about me. It will kick up when it comes, and I'm able to, well, there are collections, it takes a second. So I can have my resume, webinars I've done, podcast interviews, my blog, any kind of certifications, badges, resources for educators, Wakelet, school librarian resources for back to school programming, podcasts, Bunsey tips, GimKit tips, social emotional learning. This has been the game changer with everything going remote learning, to be able to create a collection that I can share out with my educators or even my kids, so they know different ways that they can express themselves. And then again, it's a work in progress. Anything that I've presented, I can put into my section. And this actually links back to my actual Wakelet profile. Now, student portfolios, these are game changers for kids, because it comes down to universities don't necessarily want to see a piece of paper. They want to see the proof. So these are two of my girls from last year. I was the co-leader of Students Who Advocate Technology, and they've graduated. I have permission to show these Wakelets, but they each use these portfolios to send to their universities as part of their application process. And again, another area to curate all of the stuff for Student Ambassador Program for Wakelet, which I'll show you next. So this is Julie's, and at the time she was a senior. It links to her Instagram, her Twitter, and her website. These kids were kids that ran all the social media for Salina SWAT. She's built her portfolio. She has her resume, videos she's created, and graphics that she has created as by being a SWAT member. All of the collections that she has done, she's for the Wakelet Student Ambassador, were placed in this section. And as you can see here, she's able to line everything up the way she'd like. The next was things that she did as a member of SWAT, content creation. And then this is actually her business. And she had a crazy baking business before she left for college. And she put all the pictures and curated them in there. And the thing that's really wonderful about this for student progress, you can see the earliest and then it goes all the way to the newest, and you can see their progress. And this is wonderful for digital design. If they're creating graphics, you can see how they start out and then where they are. Same with photography. It could be drawings because they can upload those PNGs. And then she was our school mascot. So that's just one example. And then this is her twin sister, Jill, and she created her portfolio. Same idea. Again, this was the end result of the Student Wakelet Ambassador Program, where they take everything and put it all together. And again, there's all of her social media, her resume, things she did for SWAT, gallery. And as you can see, she kept it a little simpler. She didn't do divisions. She just threw everything in under separate collections. So again, this is collections within the collection. And then this is the student ambassadors. This is wonderful because it's now the 6 C's of 21st century learning. You've got the original 4, but then you have curation with Wakelet, and then you have citizenship, because again, the kids have to be cognizant of what they're taking, giving credit where credit is due. And so what I've done is I've included a Wakelet collection with all of the steps. You can also sign up on Wakelet and they provide you with the badges that the kids can earn, the format. I had the pleasure of being able to be one of the creators of this program. And this is just a simplified version. You can do it in teams, you can set it up and you can have it by modules. And that's really the best thing, is to give the kids the time. But at the same time, the one thing that's wonderful about this program is it allows them, there's again, student voice and choice. So it gives the explanation. Always include the learning goals and objectives. This is the most important thing, so they know exactly where it's coming from. And then you have the different tasks. So the first module would be meet the ambassador, and they create a collection, and then they have to, that's where the collaboration part comes in. They share it with both the lead educator. In my case, it was the librarian, and I did it with my library aides. And it's again, another way for me to get to know my kids. And then a friend, and the way they're sharing it is not emailing it. They would follow their classmate's Wakelet account, and then they're able to share that and they can collaborate together. The next comes perspective, where they show 2 sides of an argument. 3 is creativity, designing a flag for the Global Student Ambassador Program, which was wonderful. And the thing that I love the most is that integrated feature with Flipgrid. They can create a Flipgrid Shorts video explaining why they created their flag the right way. So again, you get that student voice included in it. It also includes a link to the Wakelet brand, so they use the correct color, hex colors for when they're creating their flag. This was a fun one, a noteworthy playlist where they curate music. What are 10 songs that they enjoy, and then tell us why. And then you share it, and then the teacher and the other, or the librarian and the other kids can share what they like. And it's interesting, you learn a lot more about your kids. And I learned about music and now follow a lot of these artists that I never even heard of. Then becomes communication, student choice presentation. They create a collection, and then they can create the presentation any way they like. It could be slides, PowerPoint, a Prezi, Buncee, again, which is wonderful for the integration because they can embed it right in the Wakelet. And then the final was that showcase. And what we did is my partner created the Wakelet Ambassador Collection, where you can showcase within Wakelet all of the wonderful things that the kids curated, and then you can share it out to your education community. You can share it out to the stakeholders. Hopefully it'll load. It takes a second. I apologize. There it is. So we have the Wakelet Student Ambassadors. These kids were the first official Wakelet ambassadors. So there's the curation, meet the ambassador. Then it went on to the critical thinking. And again, these are all of their collections embedded within this one large collection. The creativity, the collaboration where they did their music, and then the communication, and then finally taking a text box and creating links to all of their final portfolios, which I showed you, Julie and Jill, and then you can look and see the other kids. Again, this has been a game changer. I absolutely love this, and it's another wonderful way to get to know kids and build that rapport. I've also included the link for the applications, and I've included the link for the webinar that we did explaining the process and how we got involved in it. And then professional development. This is wonderful. This was created by a fellow librarian, Sherry Gick. Yes, you can join this right now with that code. You can set up your Wakelet account, and then you can go and join the group. And what this is another way to expand your PLN. And what you do is you just copy and paste your Wakelet profile in there. And I think when we did this during the Wakelet Community Week, we got maybe 90 librarians that signed up, but I believe now we've got even more, and it's gone worldwide. As you can see, 1,400 views. You can add, and she did it in a mood board, and we've included our Wakelet in the library session. And you can go and you can follow and get amazing ideas for both academic, public, and school librarians. I believe there's even instructional coaches in here, tech ed coaches. And this is how you grow your PLN and find people that have that same mindset as you. Again, another way to build your PLN, all through Wakelet, which is wonderful. And then there's the remote learning for libraries. And then this is a way you can do promotions, where you can promote out things that are going on in the community. So we just had Banned Books Week. And so I took the information from American Library Association, created this Wakelet, and then shared it out to both the community, school, and town community so they could see what's going on. In addition to creating a display in the library, I gave them an example, like what it was, and then I included the most challenged books, an interview with Dave Pilkey, because that's a popular author. Kids like that from 5 to 15, and how he was banned and challenged, and then gave them all the different information. And again, which is wonderful, when you click on it, it will just pop up and open right there, and the kids can read through it. And I've just included all that information in there. And I made it in the regular, I believe it's the grid view, just to make it a little more appealing than the mood board. And then this is something that my current district has recognition days. And again, this is something that you can share out to your community stakeholders. I worked with the history curriculum director and she shared with me a doc that she had, which had links, and I said, we need to make this in a much more pleasurable display. And I said, I took it upon myself, I created it, and as you can see, some of it, since we live in Texas, has to do with things in Texas. And I curated these links. Some of the links didn't work, so being the information specialist, I went out and I found more reliable links, removed the old ones and added it in there, and have all these different days throughout the year. I believe there's some more that should be showing up, but it went throughout the entire school year. So if teachers were doing something on Hispanic Heritage Month, they'd be able to click on this and then use these resources in their classroom. And again, it lists all the different days within there, celebrating freedom. So that's another way of promotion, like the newsletter. Something we did too, since we're remote learning and we're on level 2, which, you know, you're only allowed to have so many children into the libraries. We created personal shopper recommendations where they fill out a form and you ask them a bunch of different questions, and then we go shopping for them based on those responses, and then we create collections of suggestions, which again, YouTube videos, articles, interviews, audio clips. And this has helped with increasing circulation because we also offer curbside check-in, check-out, so the kids can schedule a day to come and get their book. And then one of the last things, I had an educator who wanted a list of books that were retellings of classics to get those reluctant readers. So I went and did some research, and based on my own reading, I was able to curate for them different updates for Frankenstein, where I'd include the reviews and interviews with the author. And then I went on to, I believe, when it wants to load, Macbeth, and gave them suggestions. And this again was good for an English teacher who teaches a graphic novel class. I was able to curate this for him. And I also did a massive graphic novel collection for him, where there were probably 7 books he'll be teaching throughout the year, and I created 7 huge Wakelet collections with resources for the kids for their research. And I've included in here the webinar that we did back in June for Community Week. And then I've also included Christina's blog for Wakelet and listing different ways that you can use Wakelet in a school and a public library. It doesn't have to be just school. And again, group projects, digital storytelling, reading logs, organizing research. This is a perfect place for kids, especially if they have the Wakelet extension to curate, and they can just throw the information right into their collection. Resources, blogs, portfolios, bibliographies, newsletters, and then again, the embedded Flipgrid. So those are all of my, just some of mine. And since I can make this, since it can be updated in real time, I can add some things I may have left out and share them with you. So now I'm going to throw this back over to Catherine, who can answer any questions.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Deb. I learned so much. I thought I knew everything about Wakelet. Apparently I didn't. Really innovative ways of applying it. I love the collections within collections, but I think the other thing I really loved was this idea of students, but also lifelong learners, you know, finding more ways to communicate beyond what we used to do maybe when we were all at school. of book reports and things like that, as you pointed out. I'm definitely going to follow you and Christina and all the others. So
you have to join that collection of librarians on Wakelet.
So innovative. So we have lots of questions, lots of people sort of commenting positively about what you're showing. So maybe I'm not going to ask the first question I have the privilege of asking, which is, you use the word game changer multiple times, right? And it caused me to think, so how would you have done it, or could you have even done it without a tool like this? You couldn't be as effective, is my assumption.
Well, the one example was that resources for the holidays, it was a document that had listed each month with a link to another document, which broke down the month and had the links. And then you had to click. It was a lot of click, 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 click. And I sat there in the meeting and said, no, let's do it with Wakelet. Because then, again, because of the real-time collaboration, like I said with mine, there's so much I didn't include because we just are on limited time, that I can constantly update it or take things away if something is broken. Some things I've used myself do not allow for this massive type of collaboration, sharing, integrating the videos. When Flipgrid got integrated, that was just even, again, that I'm going to say it again, a game changer. Having that shorts video. So when I was in the class yesterday, showing the kids how to use Wakelet, how to sign up, and I said, you guys are out there on the field. There might be a time where you can grab a video of a kid getting injured, and then you can show it in the video of Flipgrid as like a little slide thing inside of it and explaining, okay, this is what we did when this kid got the injury, and it's there forever as that video. And the teachers in the back like, yes, I want them to do that. So.
Yeah, no, fabulous. I'm just going to do a little plug here. In case people don't know, Flipgrid is actually owned by Microsoft. So Microsoft actually owns a whole bunch of companies that people don't realize are Microsoft, but Flipgrid is one of those. So we'll do a session on Flipgrid at another time. So let's go to questions from the audience. So one of the first questions we had was, how successful is it in using for a virtual field trip? And for those of you who are not in the US, a virtual excursion. I don't know whether you can answer that, Deb. I have some perspectives, but
I believe that there is one of our ambassadors has created one where it's you can do the 360 images. You can do those embedded. It takes a little bit of time to set it up, but I believe it can be done. Teijas might be able to answer that a little bit better.
Yeah, you're right, Deb. It's actually quite frequently used for virtual field trips. We've got a bunch of ambassadors and also just teachers around the world who do use Wakelet to showcase virtual field trips. And the interesting thing is that it's been linked directly to the usage on Microsoft Teams. So a lot of teachers have sort of created these collections of field trips inside of a Wakelet collection and actually shared it to a team tab where all of their students inside of a channel can then consume that content. So really cool in that sense.
Yeah.
And so if you go and do a search, you can find it under the Explorer. Just type in virtual field trips and collections will come up of people who have already created it. And I can tell you most of the users, if not all of them, will allow you to copy it and you can use it because, again, it gives that credit back to the person who's the original creator.
That's the other thing that I really loved. I didn't realize it did that, but I think that that's really good because, there's a lot of benefits, and I think librarians and educators know this well, of collaborating on, developing the best resources for students. But it's like, how do you keep that, provenance of whose idea was it originally, which I think is always great. So we have another question here, which is it possible to keep one of the spaces hidden? That came up about 15 minutes ago. Okay, so you know the context of that.
Are you talking, were they asking about actual spaces, the new integration? Because yes, that's wonderful. If there's things where you just want to do like your TBR, you can create a space that's for the to be read, and it's not published. Whereas my digital portfolio was published. I wanted it to be able to be out there. Yeah.
So hopefully that answers the question. For the person around virtual tours, we'll get some examples. I usually do a recap after webinars on my LinkedIn blog. So we'll look for some examples and publish that up there. Next question was, is it possible to have AR, augmented reality, also embedded in here?
That's Teijas' question.
Yeah, so that it really depends on the specific platform that you're talking about. So we do, like I explained at the very beginning, we are very compatible with any platform that allows for public showcase of their content. So if you are saying, can I, for example, copy the link of an AR supported piece of content and paste it into Wakelet and hence showcase content to my student in using AR? The answer is yes, as long as the native platform that you've copied a link from allows for that content to be showcased publicly, and they allow for that content in some sense to have that same effect whilst it's a public link. But as a platform and what we offer, there isn't any inherent AR allowed inside of the platform.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just going to sort of add, what about things like Sketchfab and 3D models and things in Sketchfab? I'm assuming because it's a link, you can at least link to it from there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, just sorry, I keep thinking of things I meant to say. Back to the virtual tours, I just want to let people know that, of course, Microsoft does Skype in the classroom, and we're increasingly, I know we have museum people here as well. We're increasingly doing Skype in the classroom. Used to be primarily around schools, connecting with schools. We're increasingly doing museums, particularly since COVID, of museums reaching out to schools. And I can definitely see whether it's not a strict virtual tour, but I can definitely see how Wakelet could be great in the supporting materials and the collaboration aspects of those experiences.
Yeah, I believe that part of with remote learning, I have a collection out there, remote learning from librarians. Part of it is I curated a whole section of virtual tours that were just put out there from all public libraries across the world. And the thing that's nice is they can go into that collection, they can click, and it'll take them right to the virtual tour.
Yeah. Someone called Kamal Pri commented, student ambassador program is really powerful, helps teachers to get to know their children much better, and fosters bonds, especially under remote learning. So no question there, but a comment, and lots of people like that. Someone else, anonymous, said, ma'am, that's wonderful. Would be following you surely to find great resources for my subject history. So looks like you're going to get lots of followers out of this.
That's okay. I love following people.
And we have another one, Selvin Ravindranath. As I understood from the presentation, Wakelet can be incorporated with Teams, absolutely. In that case, shall I use it as a resource library for the courses and share it to students through Teams? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love this next comment. This is not a question, but you're going to love this comment. It's anonymous. It's, as usual, a mind-blowing session where you can't afford even typing something as you may miss something important. Great work, Wakelet team, and Deb, of course. So that is, you know, I think a good segue into saying that we have a recording of this. We often find that there are so many webinars these days that people can't necessarily attend live, and lots of people want to look at it afterwards. So this will definitely be available on demand, and I'll also be putting it up on my YouTube channel. For those who aren't aware of the Microsoft Libraries and Museums community, LinkedIn community, it's on LinkedIn. And I publish lots of blogs there. We have a community of 850 librarians and museum professionals from around the world participate in that. And we'll also post announcements there. Nicole has posted a link in the chat if you can find that community. That's a great way to find out about everything that Microsoft is doing in libraries and museums and around Wakelet and other sorts of things. So maybe I can just sort of, we've talked about some great examples here. Maybe you could talk a little bit about where, I know we don't have a museum speaker today, but where museums have used Wakelet. I know that we have quite a number of museums who have already started to adopt it.
Yeah, so essentially we've had museums from across the globe adopt Wakelet for a variety of purposes. I think the most popular one would be the Guggenheim Museum, which a lot of you might know. There's also, so as Catherine mentioned in the beginning, we're based in Manchester in the UK, so there's a lot of domestic and local museums in the UK that use Wakelet for a variety of purposes. So the most common one is probably to share out, the different or the new showcases that they've got in a museum. So every time a museum gets, let's say, a new showcase of artifacts or something special that they'd like to showcase, they usually curate all of that digital content about those new showcases in a collection, and they use that collection as a way of marketing the fact that they've got these new showcases in store at the museum. So just sort of bringing more context to, an ever evolving showcase that a lot of museums seem to have nowadays. And apart from that, there's also a lot of, I think, portfolio creation as well for museums. So in context, so to just expand on that, a lot of the artifacts or showcases at a particular museum very often don't have as much context that you maybe would like to see. And a lot of museums on Wakelet have actually used the platform as an opportunity to expand and provide more history and depth to a particular showcase in the museum. And it's been really interesting to even just read through these user cases and these examples of these showcases and really understand where they've sourced the particular artifact or showcase item from, how it came about to being, what it really showcases. And so a bunch of user cases similar to these can be, also in some sense thought of to accommodate your personal. So if you're from a museum and watching this, I'm sure there's a bunch of digital related projects that maybe you have running as well, and Wakelet can sort of, I think, really accompany all of those projects quite hand in hand. And having, for example, even if you've got a website, having a Wakelet collection embed on your website could also mean that there's interactable links that can showcase really nicely, and it's also proven to improve engagement. So a bunch of really interesting stuff that all the museum folk can get up to. But I'll be sure to also send across an example. I mean, Catherine's done a whole blog on Wakelet for museums, and I think that's got a lot of amazing context on everything that I've just spoken.
Yeah. But I look forward to, I've got so many new ideas now from libraries that I look forward to seeing what museums do. I missed another question. I didn't realize it was there, which was, if I embed a collection in a new collection and delete the first one, is it also deleted in the new collection for Teijas?
Yes, yeah. So,
I'd say yes.
Yep.
There you go. That's the answer to that. Okay, well, great. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for your time. This is really exciting. I'm really excited to see what we can do with museums and libraries in this space. I think it's great for community building. It's great for education. It's great for just finding new ways to engage. And also for me, frankly, and I think you showed these examples, Deb, it definitely is, it's a quick way to get a website and like a personal brand that many students are looking for. And also, frankly, individuals, just like we have it on other social media channels. So great. So thank you so much for your time. People can reach out to me or Teijas for questions, and obviously Deb, and I'm sure Deb will have many more followers now, and on Wakelet. And thank you all for attending. I really hope that you found this interesting and useful. And again, you know, where our interest is that this is built on Microsoft technology, and that's what we're trying to do here, is bring solutions built on Microsoft technology that are specific for this libraries and museum sector that can really help sort of accelerate your missions. So thank you, everybody. And with that, we'll say goodbye. Thank you.